Hello, in this video I'm going to walk you through laying supine with towels with your hands behind your head. So this is a gentle passive exercise, which by the way, as ever, doesn't mean that it's not really impactful for your body and how it's going to feel. And you can do this on the floor, or you could do this from your bed if getting up and down from the floor is difficult for you. I have got my foam lumbar rolls here, which is what I would use for this, but you can absolutely use 2 rolled up towels or blankets if you don't have sort of proper lumbar rolls. What I would say about rolling up your own towels or blankets is you want to roll them in such a manner that they are a little bit uncomfortable under your lower back and under your neck. So some people, when they roll up towels or blankets, they make them a bit too thin, which means that it's like comfortable for the body to lay on, but it's not creating postural change. So we use these tools not randomly, we use them for a purpose, and the role that these rolls play, excuse the pun, is that they start to change the alignment of the spine. So if the thing that you're using isn't offering you enough resistance, and that will feel slightly uncomfortable when you're laying on it, they are not strong enough to kind of crank you into the position that we want you to be cranked in. So the width and the kind of thickness of your towels will make a big difference here, but a bit like Goldilocks, it's up to you to experiment and find a kind of width of the roll that suits you. It can't be too narrow because you won't create change, but it can't be so massive that it's like unbearably uncomfortable for you to hold for a long period of time. So it's about finding that middle ground where it feels a bit uncomfortable, but you're able to sustain the exercise for long enough for things to start clunking into place. So bear that in mind. I'm putting 1 roll underneath where my neck's going to go, and I'm going to put 1 roll here, which is going to be just above my pelvis, and I'm going to lay back onto the rolls like this. And we're going to start off with our knees bent like so. So I've got that lower roll just above my pelvis, just in the very small of my back. I've got the upper roll underneath my neck, and I want the back of my head on the floor here. And what we're going to try and do is just take our legs out long. So having your legs out long like this is asking your hips to extend. If your hips struggle to extend and they don't like extension, having your legs out long like this may make you have some pain in your lower back. So what that's telling you is that your lower back is compensating because your hips struggle with this like open position of extension. If it's an issue for you and you do get kind of an aggravation or tension in your lower back, what you can absolutely do is take both of your knees to this bent position, feet flat on the floor or on the bed if you're doing it in your bed, or you can experiment with doing it 1 leg at a time, which will make it possibly a little bit more manageable because you're only asking 1 hip at a time to extend like this. So whilst this exercise is laying supine, which the full definition of that would be have your legs extended, because we don't want to do things that cause us pain. If you need to, absolutely you can have your knees bent, but I want you to keep that slight arch in your lower back as you do have your knees bent. So it's not about having your knees bent and then flattening the lower back and sort of tucking your pelvis under. We want that arch in the lower back because that's going to help realign the pelvis and it's going to help reestablish the curvature of the spine that we want. So I'm going to take my legs long just because that's kind of what we want to do if we can do it. And that's going to start opening me up through the front of my hips. I've got the lumbar roll under my lower back, which is helping to balance out any disparity in my pelvis. And that's why what I said earlier is so important. The lumbar rolls have to offer you enough resistance and width to actually hold your pelvis in a balanced position. If your lumbar rolls are too soft, the weight of your body will squish them and they won't be able to resist you enough in order to create the postural change that we're trying to create. The roll underneath your neck is reducing rotation through the vertebrae of your neck. So if you've got a bit of a crooked neck, if you've got forward head position, if you've got your head like tilted to one side, this lumbar roll here is starting to massage out very gently and start to untwist rotation and disparity through the cervical spine. And this may feel very uncomfortable, or not necessarily very uncomfortable, but you might feel like you're in a very alien position here with your upper body and head. You might feel like your chin is really, really lifted to the ceiling, which is what will happen if your neck is tight. But the longer that you lay on it, provided that you're not getting neck pain and it just feels a bit weird and maybe a bit challenging, you'll start noticing that your chin draws in, and that's your kind of sign that your neck is lengthening. It's not just kind of crunching back on in itself and hyperextending. So this is the position that we're getting ourselves into. If you want to, you can have your hands on your belly. You can have your palms facing up, arms out to the side. But what I'm going to do is put my hands behind my head. So I interlink my fingers together. I create like a cradle for my hands underneath my head, and my elbows are just hanging wide. I'm not forcing my elbows open. There is no work going on in the effort to get my elbows down to the floor. So please bear that in mind. If your shoulders are tight, or if your kind of upper body isn't as open as mine is, you might notice that your elbows are more like this, sort of up towards the ceiling, and that's absolutely fine. But I just want your elbows to be where they want to be passively. If you crank your elbows down to the floor, what you are most likely to do is create a rib cage flare, which is going to put the kind of load into your mid to lower back. So having your arms like this is helping to open you up through your armpits, through the front of your chest. It can get rid of rounded shoulders, but that's not going to happen if you're cranking your elbows back and thrusting up in the rib cage. We want the rib cage grounded and relaxed on the floor. And if that means that the elbows are like this, that's absolutely fine. But what you'll hopefully notice is that the longer that you stay here for, those elbows just start drifting out a little bit wider. We're going to keep breathing in and out of our nose, sending our breath deeply into our belly. So we're relaxing off our belly here, allowing it to kind of stretch open. And we're trying to get movement through the bottom of our rib cage. So both up towards the ceiling, out to the sides, and also down into the floor. We want our belly also nice and open and relaxed as well. We want our legs relaxed. So just notice if you're kind of tensing up your thigh or gritting your teeth or whatever it might be, clenching your belly. We just want you relaxing into a puddle wherever you are. This is a whole body exercise. Whilst it might not seem that you're doing very much, there is indeed a lot going on for your posture, especially with the addition of the rolls. Next thing I want you to think about just before we finish is being active through your shoulders. So I said I didn't want you cranking open with your elbows, and that is true, because if you focus too much on your elbows, you're much more likely to compensate with your rib cage. But what I do want you to try and do is use your brain to connect the muscles that reside between your shoulder blades and below your shoulder blades. And I want you to use those muscles to pull your shoulder blades together and pull them down away from your ears. So I'm just going to rearrange my body slightly, but I'm engaging my shoulder muscles, my rhomboids, to pull the shoulder blades together. That is different to cranking my elbows open. So if you can maintain this position, so we're laying supine with towels and with our hands behind our head, if you can maintain this position with action going on in your shoulder blade area, you're going to create quicker change for yourself in your upper body, which may also, depending on how long you've been doing this stuff for and how deeply you've dove, may surprise you that you then start noticing you get more change around your pelvis and hips. So for some of you, if your upper body is very dysfunctional and doesn't work very well, it will feed into pelvic rotation and hip tension. And so by engaging your shoulder blades like this, you might notice that your pelvis and your hips relax off and change quicker. My feet are relaxed, my legs are relaxed, my belly is relaxed, My breathing is deep and heavy. I'm not cranking my elbows down to the floor, but I am pulling my shoulder blades together. My jaw is relaxed and I'm breathing. And this would be something that I would recommend to hold for up to 10 minutes. So it completely depends on how your body is doing. If it gets too intense, if it gets too uncomfortable, but it's almost as if your body is being challenged in new ways, that's a really good sign that this is an exercise for you to do more of. But don't force it for longer than your body wants it to. So if your pelvis is feeling a bit creaky, or you're maybe feeling a bit winded in your back, or things like that, that's a sign that you're probably creating positive change for yourself. But holding it for longer than your body feels comfortable to hold it for isn't what I want you to do. It's about doing 2 minutes the first time you do it, and then maybe 4 minutes the next time you do it, and 6 minutes the time after that. We build up slowly over time. Things like this are a marathon and not a sprint, and it's always really important to listen to what your body is telling you. If this isn't the exercise for you, if having the rolls under your back and under your neck don't suit you, even when you've got your knees bent and your pelvis is still rolled forward, then that's fine. This is just not the exercise for you. There are hundreds of others on my YouTube channel. Find something else that works for you. Drop the things that feel wrong, and you'll be on your way to getting rid of your pain. I hope you enjoyed.